So what we're going to do today is actually quite a bit of fun, because this is where you can start really designing the shots that you're taking, right? So, and by designing the shots, I mean that you're now actually using the camera in Rhino and Maxwell. You're using it like a real camera, right? So we already looked at um, the depth of field. Is that what I was thinking of? What am I thinking of here? The lens length, yeah. So we already looked at the lens length, which basically, widens your lens angle so that you can see more of the image or a little bit less of the image. But there's also the feature of focus and depth of field. So we're going to look at that with Maxwell today, but what we're going to need to do is see the camera in order to understand how it's working. So you can minimize your perspective view and start to look at perhaps one of your side views. I don't know which one you would want to actually use, but it's going to be, I will say this though, it's going to be kind of difficult to see precisely where the camera is in some views, depending on kind of where your building is situated and how your camera is facing. So here in my perspective view, I'm going to turn my camera on, and now I'm totally blanking. There it is. Show. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the actual camera setting here, and the element called f-stop. Okay, so basically what you see here is your picture plane and precisely where your camera is focused. So the f-stop, if you put it to a rather high value, and a high value meaning something like 22, which I think is default, when you go into your camera, oh, you're actually done at 5.6 here. That's crazy. That is crazy low. Anyway, well, we'll leave it at 5.6 for now, but when you're up at a higher f-stop value, it basically sets everything in your image in focus. And when you reduce that to a lower value, then the other elements in your view are not going to be as focused. And so our camera will basically, the lower you go, the smaller that range is of focused element. So here in our interior view, if I was to say reduce that f-stop value to an even smaller number, I should be able to get to a point where this front wall is focused, but everything in the top end, sort of up at my roof, should be out of focus, and then equally distant on the other end, so meaning beyond my building would be out of focus as well. And I don't know, the one area I haven't tested enough to get you a solid number or formula for is how precisely it calibrates to a different model scale. So most tutorials that you'll see will show you like a small element, like a small object, and kind of pull it in and out from there. But we might have to go pretty extremely low. So anyway, you saw the drafts from yesterday, but I'm going to kind of drop this down to a value of, I guess I'll go to like a 2.5. And then let's take a look at that camera. The camera, we can change the focal distance. So when you pick the camera focal distance right here, it's this little button with the FD. It can't be used in a parallel view. There we go. So what you actually have to do is set it in your perspective view. So you use your object snap and you click on a particular point that you want it to focus to. So I'm going to click right here, and you'll see that my camera, it's not the lens length, I'm thinking of how to describe it, but basically the picture plane moves out to be aligned with the element that I've selected I want to have in focus. And then we should be able to do a draft render, and I'm going to let it run for just a couple minutes, and then we should test at that point what the f-stop has done for us in that case. And right now I'm kind of ballparking some of these figures because I was testing it on a smaller model. So let's let this run for a few, and then I'll check in with it again. So I'm going to change, just so you guys hear this and have a record of it, I'm going to change my view to be one that's a little bit more extreme because I'm not really quite getting a good result out of what camera angle I chose. So here, I'm going to set my focal distance to the building kind of in the middle of it, so something like that. And this should hopefully give us a more realistic differentiation between what's in focus and what's out of focus. Because I have something that's very far away that should be in focus, and then something that is very, very close to the camera, meaning I'm standing right next to it, that should be out of focus. So let me run this one real fast, and then, that's rendered. Yeah, let me run it real fast. There we go. I will record it, yeah. So again, real quick, so I still had the last video paused, but I'm going to just recap the end that the EV doesn't seem to be behaving per my understanding. So I'm going to look at that next week with next unit. But anyway, so I'm going to stop now and move into explaining how do you actually create the PDFs, so 2 PDFs in one file in order to submit it for the final.